Hi everyone, my name is Jenny and I'm back today to do another video. Today I will be doing my November book haul. I didn't do a book haul last month because I just had some random books that I acquired, but this month I do kind of have more specific books that I wanted to talk about in a fun way, so I figured why not sit down and film a book haul. So I have 10 books to talk to you about today, 5 of which I have actually already read, as at the end of October I had some leftover money from a recalculation of my budget, and so I spent some of that money buying some books that I read either as an ebook or from the library that I wanted a physical copy of, particularly as we approach the end of the year, as these were some of my favorite books from earlier in the year that I didn't have a physical copy of and wanted to talk about them in some end of the year videos. So I figured since I had some leftover money in my budget that I would spend it acquiring some books that I have really enjoyed and want to have on my shelves, or a family member of mine was interested in reading them. So I will start with those and then get into 5 books that I have not yet read and I'm excited to read in the near future. So let's just jump right into them. The first of which is the only book that I've previously read that I've not talked about here on my channel before, and that is Barbara Kingsolver's Animal Vegetable Miracle. So I read this several years ago, probably back in like 2016 I want to say, and I really enjoyed it when I read it. I believe have talked previously on my channel about how I love Barbara Kingsolver. She's one of my absolute favorite authors living, writing today, or just in general. I don't have that many favorite authors that are no longer alive, to be perfectly honest. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this one. This is a nonfiction work of hers. Her family decided to take a year to live and eat exclusively locally, so everything that they ate was something that they either grew themselves or was from within their neighborhood. So they would purchase from other local farmers, and they did this for an entire year, and I remember really enjoying this book quite a lot. This is something that I kind of strive towards doing, is eating exclusively locally, and while I definitely am not 100% there yet, I do hope that I can get closer and closer as I kind of begin to become more and more independent in my food selection choices. So this was something that I just kind of wanted to have on my shelves as a reminder. I don't think there's any necessarily like how-tos in here, but it is just a really nice book if localism and local eating is something that is really important to you, as it is for me. And Barbara Kingsolver is just a great writer, so this is a really nice memoir. I'm not usually a memoir fan, as I believe I've also mentioned on my channel, but this is one that I really enjoyed and wanted to have on my shelves. And as you can see, it was a little like waterlogged, but honestly I don't care. I have several books that are waterlogged on my bookshelf as well, and I got this for like $2, so who cares? But I did really enjoy this one and wanted to have a copy after several years of not having one. So there's the first one. And then the next 4, as I said, are all ones that I've previously talked about on my channel, so I won't go into a ton of depth here, but I will put links up in the cards above if you want to hear my thoughts about these. But obviously I liked all of them since I purchased a copy after having read it. So the first of which is Emer Kendi's How to Be an Anti-Racist. This is one that I know several members of my family were interested in reading, so I figured I would get us a physical copy. And this is Kendi's part memoir, part sociological kind of primer on racism and anti-racism. He includes a lot of basic definitions of words, which is really helpful for kind of understanding the larger issues of racism, particularly in the United States, as Kendi is a scholar and a person living in the United States. And I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really thought-provoking and informative, and I wanted to kind of have it in case I wanted to refer to it again. Particularly his definitions I found to be really useful in understanding issues that are quite complex but are very important, obviously, to understand. So yeah, would highly recommend How to Be an Anti-Racist if you have not previously read it. I think it's a phenomenal way of understanding anti-racist work and how to understand the way that racism impacts your own life, and therefore how to begin your journey towards or continue your journey of anti-racism. And this one I read back in July, I think. Next, we have a debut novel, which was Exciting Times by Nisha Dolan. This one I actually read as an early ARC copy. This was one of the first, if not the first, early ARC copy that I got through NetGalley, and now that has sent me on a whole NetGalley journey, and I really enjoyed this one. This one is blurbed, or was blurbed, as Sally Rooney Meets Crazy Rich Asians, which are 2 authors or books that I really enjoy, and I don't think that's true, but I do kind of also think it's true. Like, I think if you like both of those things, you may enjoy a lot of the themes discussed in here. So this fits quite nicely within the like niche genre of millennial fiction, as we follow Ava, who is an Irish young woman who has moved to Hong Kong to teach English, and Ava has a lot of very interesting ideas about colonialism and capitalism and the ways in which she, as an Irish woman, is interacting with this former British colony of Hong Kong. I really enjoyed it. She gets involved in some shenanigans with a young man by the name of Julian, as well as a young woman by the name of Edith, and begins a tumultuous relationship with both of them separately, and I really enjoyed this one quite a lot. Millennial fiction is one of my favorite things, so I wanted to have this one on my shelves, plus I absolutely love that cover. Then the next one is another one that I read in that first like ARC vlog that I did, which I'll put a link to up in the cards above, and this is The Lightness by Emily Temple. This one I also really enjoyed, obviously, and is another debut novel written by a younger millennial person that follows a young woman by the name of Olivia as she goes to a Buddhist meditation camp for troubled girls in a search to find her father. I really enjoyed this novel quite a lot. It had similar vibes to me as like The Secret History, except there is not necessarily a murder. Actually, I think there is a murder, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't obviously remember these books very well, but this is definitely one that I wanted to reread, so I bought a physical copy, and also I like the cover. So yeah, that's the reason I bought that one. And then last but certainly not least, we have another early ARC copy that I read and enjoyed. At the time, I only gave it 3.5 stars, but now I'm struggling to remember what exactly I didn't like it, because I did really like this one quite a lot. I think there was something about the writing style, maybe, I'm not sure, but I wanted a physical copy anyway, and that's The Margot Affair by Sylvain Lemon. This is about a young girl living in Paris whose father is a French politician and her mother is a prominent stage actress, and some events happen with her father as it's revealed that she is his child, which has been a secret for her entire life. She knows her father and she has had a relationship with him, but his relationship with her has been kept entirely private until a moment when it's revealed and kind of shenanigans ensue. I really enjoyed this one. I think, oh, now I'm remembering, the only issue I had with it is that our main character Margot at times just felt a little too naive for me, but I really enjoyed the food writing in this, as well as the kind of atmosphere of Paris. It felt very, I've never been to Paris, but it felt very Parisian to me, so I really enjoyed this one, and also I'm obsessed with that cover. I'm definitely a cover buyer for sure. So those are the 5 books that I have previously read. Now moving on to the 5 that I have not previously read and I'm excited to get to in the near future. Most of these did have a purpose, which if you watched my last book haul, which was in September, I talked about how I am trying to reduce my TBR and trying to not buy as many books as a way to help reduce my TBR, and so I am really trying to be purposeful with the books I buy and kind of set limitations for myself, and I would say that all 5 of these books definitely fit within the kind of categories and ways that I can purchase books that I set up for myself in that video. So the first of which is a book that I'm definitely reading probably within the next couple weeks. I'll start it, and that's The Shadow King by Masamin Juste. I'll be reading this for my African Women Writers project, which I will have just put up my Old Drift review and discussion just a couple days previous to whenever this video goes up, so I will put a link to that up in the cards above in case you want to check out this project. But this is my December pick, so I'll be reading this very soon, and this is a historical fiction novel that's been shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize that I've heard pretty good things about. I do think some people have not enjoyed it, but given from what I've read of the reviews of people who don't enjoy it, I think I will enjoy it, in part because a lot of the reviews I think are people who necessarily books that are actively pushing against Western ideas of what literature is. It's not really their vibe, which it usually is my vibe, so I'm excited about this one for that reason. Min Juste is an Ethiopian American writer. She was born in Addis Ababa, but I believe, yes, she lives now in New York City. And this is a, as I said, historical fiction novel set in 1930s Ethiopia during the invasion of Mussolini, and I believe this has a strong feminist bent to it, as it's about female soldiers who resisted Mussolini's invasion. So super excited about this. Sounds like a book that'll be up my alley. Then next up we have my November book of the month. But before I show you that, I did want to just show you that they sent me this fun candle. It's amber and vanilla, which smells pretty good. I would say it's not usually a smell that I particularly enjoy. It has the strong like vanilla scent, so it's a very almost like the brown sugar spice Bath and Body Works candle, if you're familiar with that. I used to work at Anthropologie, and I'm trying to think of a candle that this smells like, but we didn't really have one that smelled like this. But it smells pretty good, actually. I'm not usually the biggest fan of vanilla, but I do think the amber is nice. I am also not the biggest fan of amber usually, but this should work, and it was free, so I will definitely burn that. It is from Anecdote Candles, and I got this because I finished my 2020 reading challenge. So I'm not sure, I'm a member of Book of the Month's BFF club. I think you just become a BFF after you have subscribed for 12 consecutive months, and I've been a Book of the Month member since like mid 2018, I think. So I am a BFF, and I'm not sure if this is exclusive to that program or not, but they were doing a reading challenge where if you read 12 of their books, 8 different genres within those 12 books, and 3 debut novels, you got this free candle. So I finished that in October by reading Luster, so they sent this candle along with my November book. Sorry if the angle has changed slightly, I had to get something, but my November book was Memorial by Brian Washington. I am still in light of the discussion surrounding Book of the Month and their lack of diversity regarding authors as well as recommenders. Trying to purchase exclusively books by Black authors from them, and Memorial I think this month was the only one, which is not a great Book of the Month. Last month they had 2, and then September was fantastic. I think pretty much all of the 5 books that they'd chosen were by authors of color, but I'm pretty sure this month this was the only one. But I was hoping that they would have this book anyway because they had Lot by Brian Washington, and they do seem to enjoy having authors multiple times on Book of the Month, and I read this right at the beginning of this year and really enjoyed it. So once I heard that Brian Washington was coming out with a debut novel, I definitely wanted to check it out, and this also just sounds like a book that will be up my alley. It is about a young gay couple living in Houston. One is Japanese American and the other of which is a Black man. The Black man works at a daycare, which apparently Brian Washington also worked at a daycare, which I am intrigued by, especially given that I work in childcare. I don't work with itty bitties at this moment in time, but I do work with young elementary school age people for the moment, so I'm intrigued about that element. Additionally, the Japanese American man, whose name is Mike, is a chef, so I am also intrigued about the kind of food writing elements of this. I've heard really good things about that, and the story sounds interesting. It's about Mike's father, who is in Japan, is dying, and so Mike's mother arrives to Houston for an extended stay, and Mike goes to visit his estranged father, and Benson, who's the Black man that works as a daycare teacher, spends a significant amount of time with Mike's mother in Houston, and the two of them develop an interesting relationship. So super excited about this one. Definitely hoping to get to it before the end of the year if possible, although my end of the year is shaping out to be pretty busy regarding reading, so this may be an early 2021 book that I get to, but excited about this and happy that Book of the Month had it. Then, as I talked about in my September book haul, I'm hoping each month to buy a book that kind of fits a certain theme that I think of for that month. So in October, I was obviously thinking about spooky books, and so the one that I decided to pick up, although I ended up picking up this month, was Dead Voices by Catherine Arden. This is the second in her middle grade horror series, so it's very short and it's middle grade, so I'm definitely hoping to get to this one for the end of the year as well. This is a horror series wherein she's following a young girl by the name of Ollie, as well as her 2 friends, Coco and Brian, as they get involved in some horrific adventures. I really enjoyed the first one, which was Small Spaces, and that one took place in the fall, and then this one, Dead Voices, takes place in the winter, and it is at a haunted hotel, I believe, which should be fun. I am not a big horror reader whatsoever, but middle grade horror seems like it's okay because it's literally written for the children that I care for at work. So I'm super intrigued about this one and also hoping to get to it before the year is out. Then my November kind of themed read of the month that I purchased was Rising Dispatches from the New American Shore by Elizabeth Rush. This is published by Milkwood Editions, and it's a very well-bound book. Like, the cover is a very thick paperback cover, which is intriguing, and this was also a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize. And as it says in the subtitle, this is a nonfiction book about stories of people who are living in urban centers along the coast, I believe only in the United States, but maybe elsewhere in the world. Yep, only in the United States, Louisiana to Mississippi, Rhode Island to Oregon, that are all places that will likely be underwater if climate change continues on the trajectory that it is currently going. So I'm super intrigued about this one, definitely an area of interest for me, and I actually talked about this one in my climate change recommendations and TBR video, which I'll put a link to up in the cards above. So excited about this one. Hopefully we'll maybe get to it during Nonfiction November this month, but I also have a lot of books that I am still working through for my Nonfiction November TBR. So this one may have to wait till either Nonfiction November next year or sometime before that, but super excited about that one. And then finally, also in honor of Nonfiction November, I picked up a used copy at my local new and used bookstore of Say Nothing, A True Story of Murder and Memory in Northern Ireland by Patrick Radden Keefe. This one is quite popular here on BookTube, so I bet you have heard something about it, but it's another nonfiction book about the IRA in Ireland. It's following a murder that happened in the early 1970s in Ireland, and also I believe is kind of a more political history of everything that was happening regarding the Troubles in Ireland during the 1970s and 80s and 90s. So super excited about this one. I've heard nothing but incredible things. I believe this one was a finalist for the BookTube prize in the nonfiction category, so I'm really excited to get to it, hopefully sooner rather than later, although it is quite a long book. And actually one of my IRL friends read this and really enjoyed it, although she said it was kind of dense and intense. So I will definitely be warned about that, but super excited about that one. And those are all the 10 books that I've acquired recently, some of which I've read, some of which I've not read. If you have read or are interested in reading any of these books, do let me know down in the comment section below. Additionally, if you found my channel through this video, I'd love to have you stick around and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time.